All of this is about fatherhood, and you can't talk about fatherhood without talking about image. Image. He's created in my image, in my likeness. And my image is my legacy. My image is my legacy. My legacy carries my genes, carries my images, carries my characteristics, carries my name, is my legacy. My legacy is what I leave. Okay. My prophecy is what I aspire to. My legacy is what I leave behind. What I leave in the world as evidence I was here. That's what it means to be a father, to leave somebody in the earth as a testimony that you were here. And how you shape that person and how you develop that person is the artistry of fatherhood. The conversations you have with them, the moments you let them see of you, the things you unveil of yourself. Being a father is the great apocalypse of masculinity. You do not allow your baby son to see up under your skirts. But throughout the course of a life, you little by little, you unveil who you are as a man. As they get older and older, and they begin to understand things about you that you couldn't tell them when they were younger because it wasn't time yet. When they're early, you hide your skirts. Glory to God, because they're not ready enough to see you as you are. Ask Noah's sons what happens when you behold the Father ahead of time. The gradual unveiling of who you are as a man is something that happens over time. As you and your son go through life together, as he becomes a man, you begin to reveal yourself as a man so that he can see his likeness and you can see yours in each other when he's developed to the point that he begins to look like you. This is good. I want to describe it to you because we don't always get the benefit of seeing it. Even those of us that have a father don't always get to see it. We don't always get to see it act out in our lives. We don't always get to see it in our relationships because maybe my father's an alcoholic. Maybe my father's strung out on drugs. Maybe my father's on cocaine. Maybe my father's a cross-dresser. Maybe my father's decided not to be a father at all. Maybe my father never came home. And so the mirror is left without an image. And whatever passes by the image, the mirror reflects it. For in the absence of a fatherhood, anything that gets near a mirror, the mirror will reflect whatever is closest to it. If it's mama, it will reflect mama. If it's drug dealers, it will reflect drug dealers. If it's gang leaders, it will reflect gang leaders. If it's businessmen, it will reflect businessmen. If it's dirty white-collar crimes, it will reflect whatever you put in front of it, because to be a son is an image, impressionable, and whatever gets closest to it, it will reflect. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So all of you who say that fathers don't matter, you need to change your philosophy on that, because fathers are very important, particularly for boys, because boys need something to reflect off of to figure out what am I supposed to be when I get here or there or elsewhere. That's very important to understand that. Now, I know that your child's father might not have been a good husband, but that doesn't always mean that he can't be a good father. Just like your being a good mother doesn't always make you a good wife. Those are two completely different, distinctive jobs. In a perfect world, you want to be good at both of them. Some of us are good at one of them, and some of us are good at none of them. And anytime a man is old enough to make a baby but not to raise a baby, somebody is going to suffer. Anytime you're old enough to put a ring on a finger but not old enough to be a husband, somebody's going to get hurt. And it is very difficult to go from adolescence to adulthood as a man and not leave a trail of blood somewhere behind you where you hurt somebody. A trail of blood for a woman in the Old Testament was a sign of her purity when she gave birth. that the man penetrating the woman was a sign of them entering into covenant. In fact, the marriage was not considered legitimate until the couple brought out a bloody sheet as a sign that they had left a trail of blood. That was a sign of the authenticity of the marriage. The man broke the hymen, the woman provided the blood caused the covenant, and the covenant sealed the marriage. Now, there are not many bloody sheets left in the world today. Oh, y'all got quiet on me. Y'all got quiet on me. I thought y'all was with me. There are not many bloody sheets left in the world today. I don't want to make you feel bad. I don't want to make you feel guilty. There are not many bloody sheets in the world today because there are not many men who are there to be the kinds of fathers that they're supposed to be. And in the absence of fatherhood, there are not many women who kept the blood reserved for somebody in covenant. So what we have today is a shadow of what God had in mind. It's just a mere image of what God had in mind. So the question emerges, can imperfect people develop a functional relationship? That's the question before us. That's the question, whether you want to talk about it or not talk about it, whether you live in a good neighborhood or a bad neighborhood, whether you're a hood rat or whether you live in the suburbs or whether you got a house that's as long as a football field or whether you got a house that's on top of a garage, that is still the question. Money does not erase the question of relationship. Relationship is not something you pay for with a check. Relationship is not something you earn with degrees. Just because you have more degrees than a thermometer does not make you a good father. Just because you make a lot of money does not make you a good father. Y'all ain't with me today. Y'all ain't with me today. Being a father has something to do with your ability to have a relationship skill of which the child can reflect and depend and grow and develop and understand himself in the light of the unique nuances that you bring to the relationship because you are not duplicating mama. But it's hard not to duplicate mama when the only father you ever saw was a woman. So when the only father you ever saw was a woman and then you go marry a woman, both of y'all are trying to give the kid the same thing. Because all you can give to the child is what you got. And if you didn't get any fatherhood, it's hard to give what you didn't get. Okay, we're going to get down to this. We ain't shouting today. We're going to get down into understanding what God is calling for when he starts talking about our Father. Now, you must understand that the pattern was perfect. The pattern was perfect because the first pattern was God. The pattern was perfect. But if you go to the material store and you pick out a pattern and you go buy some fabric, the pattern may be perfect, but if there's a flaw in the material, no matter how well you cut along the lines of the pattern, there's going to be a flaw in the dress, not because the pattern wasn't perfect, but there's a flaw in the material. This is a story. This is the gospel. That's what the gospel is, about a perfect pattern and a flawed material. That is John 3:16. That is the gospel message. That is the story with Adam and God. That is the story of the prodigal son. That is the story. That is your story. That is my story, that my pattern was perfect, but my garment was flawed. So what do you do when you have a flawed garment and you have a perfect pattern? You can drink it up, you can smoke it up, you can get high, you can avoid it, you can ignore it, you can discard it, you can say it doesn't matter, you can say I don't believe in it. But does the gospel have a place for a flawed man to end up a great father? That's what I want to talk to you about today. And I think that every man in the world needs to hear this message. And I think you ought to text every man you know to get him on the line. And every woman who's raising a son to be a man needs to hear this message. And every woman who works with men needs to hear this message. And every woman who wants a man needs to hear this message. Because a lot of the women who want a man are actually looking for a girlfriend. The reason I say you're looking for a girlfriend is that your value system of what relationships are about are feminine. And you don't understand that the way a man expresses a love is not the same way as a woman expresses love. And so you're really looking for a female in a pair of pants, and if they don't respond to you in feminine ways, you don't feel loved because the only love you ever experienced was mama. So it's not just the sons that need the love of a father. The girl needs the love of a father too. She needs to understand a man's signals, because men don't always speak with language. They speak with signals and body language, and we respond to things in nonverbal communication. And you need to learn how to read our face and our expression and our moves, and what does that mean, and interpret that correctly. And if you never grew up in the house with that, you don't really understand that my silence doesn't have anything to do with you. So you won't be following me all around the house talking about what's wrong, what's wrong. Ain't nothing wrong. I'm just not you. I'm wired differently than you. I respond differently to you. I don't cry about the things you cry about. I don't respond. That don't mean I don't care. That don't mean I don't love the child. That don't mean I'm not upset. That don't mean I'm not worried. It just means that I'm different. Male and female, he created them, and they are different.